morning and welcome to JavaTalk. My name is Jaden. Today I'm sitting down with Madie Brink, Assistant Athletic Director at USF. Thank you for joining us, Madie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, let's just get right into it. What does a typical in-season week look like for you versus the off-season?
Yeah, I think that's a loaded question. I think our seasons run about 9 months out of the year. So myself and Clint are usually running the show from late August to early May. And I think our seasons really consist of, depending on what sport's going on, uh, we're making sure student athletes are getting recognized for awards. We're making sure that our record books are what we have of our record books are getting up to date and staying up to date. We're just making sure that kind of all of our P's and Q's are in check. And then, we're creating roster sheets, we're creating game notes, programs, stuff like that, that more of our fan base want to see on game days and whatnot. But then when it comes to the student athletes and whatnot, we're making sure that they're in our systems, their stats are getting, recorded correctly. Just stuff like that. I think, yeah, that's pretty much what we do week to week. We're making graphics, we're making schedule posters, trying to come up with content to kind of showcase our student athletes in a positive light. Because at the end of the day, we can't do what we do without them. So and they make it easy. So that's all we can do.
For sure. Sounds good. So what are some of your game day responsibilities for the various sports you work with?
Yeah, so I do a lot of stats inputting. So basically, for football, I sit up in the press box. For a lot of our sports here in the Stewart Center, I will sit down on press row, is what we call it. And I will do a lot of stats and inputting. My colleague Clint, both of us do communications down in the athletic department. Will usually call for me or vice versa, depending on the sport. So he'll kind of just yell at me what's happening in the game, and I'm just recording it through our NCAA Live Stats platform. So that's a big role of mine. Another one is just game day graphics, game day final score graphics, post game write ups, stuff like that. Just kind of highlighting and showcasing how our student athletes did on the day, stuff like that. But yeah.
Sounds good. You might have already mentioned it, but what are the most time sensitive parts of your job that many won't realize or don't realize?
Yeah, that's a loaded question too. I think there's a lot of things in the communications world that a lot of people wouldn't realize that we do. So it's, stats, the photos, sifting through the photos, tagging photos, um, press releases, post game releases, and some of our bigger sports like basketballs and football and whatnot. And we've started dabbling in with our smaller sports now that there's two of us in communications, and we're doing pregame releases. So kind of what to look forward to, what fans can expect at games and whatnot, kind of how the team's doing. Uh, yeah, that I would say is probably some of the underrated stuff, and just kind of trying to come up with new ways that we can get eyes on our teams and eyes on our student athletes, because we want to keep growing, and I think we're headed in a positive trend. So yeah, I think those are the things that kind of go unnoticed, but in the long run kind of help not only our athletic department but our student athletes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So kind of just shifting our focus a little bit, USF went through an athletics rebrand in 2025 with new logos and other branding. How was that transition and how important was that for the university?
Yeah, it was a long awaited trend. Our logo, especially when we lay it out compared to all the logos in the NSIC, it was very one dimensional or two dimensional, I guess you want to say, but it was kind of flat compared to some of the other logos. So we knew it was kind of time for a change. They had taken the historical logo, which was here from, I think, 1995 to 2012, where it was a black cougar on top with purple USF underneath. And they kind of just modernized it a little bit in 2012. And we wanted something new. We wanted something that, was aggressive in all the right ways, eye catching, kind of turn some heads. And I think that's exactly what John and I were able to accomplish in this rebrand. It took about a year in a rollout. So, I mean, we kind of got the wheels rolling, and then just kind of design flaws and re-mock-ups and stuff like that we wanted to see done. But yeah, we kept it under wraps for about 6 months because we were waiting for the school year to end, and then we were going to roll it out. But yeah, I think all in all, I think it serves our student athletes well. I think it's a lead into the future, I would say. I think it's more 3D, it has more dimension, and it just, I don't know, it just allows us to keep growing, in a positive light, kind of evolve with where trends are going here.
Absolutely. So with that new logo, new branding, what goes into keeping a consistent brand across all different teams?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really, and that's one of the things I've kind of absorbed, especially since this new logo rollout is branding. And so I oversee a lot of the uniforms. So coaches are submitting uniforms to us, they're submitting apparel and travel gear and whatnot. And I kind of oversee what is our brand going to look like and whatnot. So, I mean, these first 2 or 3 years, we're really honing in on our primary logo, which is here on my chest. And we also have one that has a full body cougar and with a USF underneath of it. So we're really honing in on those as our primary marks. And that's really what we're utilizing to create a strong brand and identity here for the next, I think we got 2 more years of this. But, and then maybe we'll trickle out some of like our secondary or tertiary logos and whatnot. But we want to create brand identity. There's University of St. Francis, there's University of San Francisco, South Florida, and whatnot. So we want to create a brand identity for the University of Sioux Falls. And I think what we're doing is exactly where we need to be. And so we really make sure that our coaches and they might have student managers or work studies and whatnot. We really make sure that they follow our brand guide. It's clean, clear to them. And at the end of the day, they always know where they can find Clint and I. So they're never afraid to ask questions. But yeah, I think creating a strong brand identity is what will help us, excel in the long run.
Yeah, sounds good. You mentioned that you're involved in uniforms. USF also transitioned from Under Armour to Nike recently. Would you say that's been a positive for the university and athletes?
Yeah, I think it has been. I think we've gotten a lot of positive response from it. It's crazy how much the brand that we wear can affect recruiting. It's a big recruiting tool. So we saw football and basketball. They're like, oh, we want Nike or like the Jumpman, and that's a huge recruiting tool for some of those teams. Some of our smaller teams like tennis, swimming, stuff like that. They're like they'll wear whatever they can, and so it's not that big of a deal for them. But some of our bigger sports, that's what a lot of kids look for is kind of what athletic brand that school is. And so one of the bigger three is Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas. So Under Armour was great. Like we had no problems there, and it was just more of where college athletics is trending and what we can do to, kind of get more student athletes in the door, get more people looking at us. And as small and minute of a thing it might sound, like it does pay in our student athletes. But I think it's been overall, we've heard very positive things in our transition to Nike.
Great. So just kind of shifting our focus again, for those maybe interested in working in athletics in the future, what skills do you think you need to work in for an athletic office?
Yeah. So we created an internship here at USF, more in the media studies department. I think it's MED 396, I think. But I would say your willingness to learn is a big thing. Some people come to us and they have never worked in college athletics. They have never worked in like athletics in general, high school, professional, whatever. But it's just your willingness to learn, so willingness to take criticism as well. And we're just trying to help you. We want to provide an opportunity for all USF students to learn something in athletics, be more hands-on, and get that experience that maybe they want to do in a professional career. I think during my time in college, that was where I learned the most. I was a very hands-on learner. So I was learning sports information stuff. I was learning marketing stuff. I was doing operations for a summer baseball team back home. And I think really what I wanted to give back to USF is an opportunity where students can come and kind of we can tailor their experience to them. You know, they come to me and they want to be, I'm more of a graphics design person. Okay, well, let's see what we can do and get you in more of our graphic design realm. How can you help us? How can we help you? And we'll really tailor that experience to them versus somebody that might come to us and they're more of like, oh, I want to do more of like a production, maybe direct a game or our camera angles at a game and stuff like that. Then we really tailor it to them in that aspect. So really, it's a loaded question. What we want to do and provide opportunities for students is just really tailoring it to what they want in a career. And I think we're in the best situation now than we have ever been to provide that to our students here at USF. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is just come ready to learn and try anything. I think that's the biggest thing. You never know if you don't try. So
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a good opportunity as
Yeah.
well. But I think that kind of wraps everything up. I just want to thank you again for joining us
Of course.
today. This has been Java Talk. See you next week.